Welcome to the final part of the special Valentine program where we have been breaking down the subject of sexuality. Yesterday, we had a beautiful session. Today, we are having a concluding session. So, tap your screen. Let's have a beautiful, beautiful session. Now, when we talk about sexuality, understand that energy is a fundamental ingredient of sexuality. Energy is a fundamental ingredient of sexuality, right? Uh, it is the ingredient for forging any empowering sexuality. It's energy, right? Because if you think of the different aspects of sexuality, it is still some kind of energy or energies you will find that make up what those parts are, right? Now, our emotions and virtues are stored in our organs. Our emotions and virtues are stored in our organs. And the reason why you find, who is this person? The reason why you find that a lot of people to have the way they relate with emotions is from the standpoint of mystery, is because nobody has ever thought that their emotions and their virtues are stored in their organs, right? Now, when we talk about sexual energy, for men, we delved deeper into that yesterday, right? For men, the major way men lose their sexual energy is through ejaculation, right? Through ejaculation. While for women, their major route for losing energy occurs through menstruation, right? And not necessarily through sex. As a matter of fact, through sex, they even get to enjoy they even get to enjoy more energy from the man. It is menstruation that eats up at least 40% of their energy, sexual energy out, right? Now, quickly, let us look at the concept of pleasure, understanding pleasure, because a lot of people don't understand pleasure from the standpoint of someone who is in charge of the systems of their body, right? When it comes to pleasure, there are two types of pleasure. There are fundamentally two types of pleasure. There is the typical, most rampant type, which is called losing energy pleasure. Type hashtag sexuality in the comment section if you're just joining us. Type hashtag sexuality in the comment section and type hashtag pleasure in the comment section. The first type of pleasure is losing energy pleasure. You think maybe it is pleasurable, but you're losing energy in the process. That is a fleeting pleasure. So that is called losing energy pleasure. The second type of pleasure is called gaining energy pleasure. And less than 1% of the people in this world ever experience that kind of pleasure. Now, let's look into the first kind of pleasure, the losing energy pleasure. When most people on this planet, or should I say, what most people on this planet refers to as pleasure is actually the type of pleasure that loses or squanders energy. Now, the brief, intense pleasure that things like drugs, the marijuanas of this world, the cocaines of this world, the heroines of this world, when they are introduced into the system of a person's body, that quick excitement, aka pleasure, is as a result of drawing up and burning off of life force energy. And these drugs, their job is to steal your life force energy, right? They steal it from your organs, they steal it from your brain, they steal it from your glands. And it gives you that quick excitement, that quick pleasure. It's like a bonfire that was started with a gasoline, right? It burns very intensely and very quickly, right? It gives this quick, gratifying result. But the fuel is gone very quickly. Fuel, petrol, gasoline. The moment you light it up, that fuel evaporates. That fuel evaporates through the fire. That is exactly what happens with drugs. But you are losing energy. You think you are getting high. They talk about, oh, I feel high when I take the marijuana. You don't know that highness was not given to you by that marijuana. The marijuana or the drug stole your energy, a large chunk of energy, your life force. It stole it and it burned it up. And you had the feeling of highness. That is losing energy pleasure. Right? Now, the increased desire to experience that intense excitement, aka pleasure, followed by the increased use of drugs, draws out the vital energy from the organs as well as from the brain and from your bone marrow. I'm going somewhere with this explanation, right? Also, a good chunk of the entertainment content that we seek and consume are also categorized under losing energy pleasure. A lot of people are puppets of entertainers now. They are consuming entertainment content from morning to night. When we are entertained in excess, energy from our organs is required to pay attention to those pieces of entertainment. Right? And by so doing, our life force is drawn out from us and freely given to the content. Right? It is pretty important that you understand that every human activity requires energy. Every human activity. Right? When we are consuming entertainment content, we imagine ourselves that we are feeling good, right? That feel good experience, right? Because we perceive ourselves as relaxed. So, feel that because we're in a relaxed state, it decreases stress. But there is a release. The release of our vital energy from our vital organs. The life force from our vital organs are being consumed. And when you now consume those entertainment content excessively, for instance, why are you consuming and entertainment content for more than 1 hour a day. Even 1 hour is too much. Let alone 2 hours, let alone 4 hours, let alone 6 hours, 7 hours. There are people from morning till night. All they are consuming is comedy skits, you know, music, gossip blog, news, content that draw up their life force. These are content that stresses out their organs. And what it will do is to create negative energy. In its wake, it will create deposits of negative energy, bouts of negative energy. And you see, when it comes to negative energy, I do not put a demonization label on it because negative energy is also useful. But when it is in excess in your organs, because energy is stored in your organs, when it is in excess, it begins to cause damage in your organs. Right? When you are not able to convert it to positive energy, because when you keep consuming entertainment in excess, it begins to create more and more negative energy. And it will now eventually lead to an outburst of negative emotions. And are you even aware that even such things as quiet music, good music, great music is also ranked in this category? Even the so-called gospel music, right? When it is consumed too much, it will make your eyes, your ears, and your nervous system to lose a lot of energy to the outside world. A lot of people, a lot of Christians, they can't do without gospel music in the morning. They have become dependent on it. Yes, a good music definitely can help you relax, right? It can help you create a sense of harmony, right, in your body. But too much attention to it is definitely detrimental to your energy experience. I guarantee it. Too much attention to the so-called good music, the so-called great music, the so-called gospel music is detrimental to your energy experience. Because when we talk about your energy experience, we're talking about you operating as the captain of your energy field from the epicenter of your energy field. Not that you are dependent on something external, even if that thing is good music. Because there will never be an end to it. There will never be an end to that dependence, that external dependence, right? That addictive external dependence. We will continually seek new songs, new movies, new shows, new comedies, because these things are never satisfying our needs. They never do. For as long as you are dependent on anything external for satisfaction, you will never get that satisfaction. Right? When you understand the power of sexual energy, when you understand the structure, the existential structure of sexual energy, it is game over for external dependence. As a man, you will not think that you need to depend on a woman for experiencing sexual bliss. As a woman, you will not think that you need to depend on a man for experiencing sexual bliss. Even though there is a level of sexual bliss you will never be able to attain as an entity, as a man or as a woman, except you are able to match your energy with someone else, with someone of the opposite sex, who have been exploring and cultivating their sexual energy for a while. But you can't be at zero exploration level as an individual, as a woman, and then you are looking for a man to come and be the one to take you to 10,000 level. It doesn't work that way. When you depend too much on entertainment, on good music, gospel music, you all it will do to you is to make you keep being dependent on it. Yes, it will arouse you, but it will keep you becoming a puppet of it. And the more we try to satisfy ourselves on the basis of the dependence on this external, whatever they are, the more we become hooked to it. The same way someone is hooked on cocaine, on crack, on cannabis, on marijuana, on heroin, and every other new ones that exist today. It's the same way you are going to be hooked to that so-called good music, that so-called good entertainment. Because see, it is the battle for satisfying your senses. That is the battle it brings you into. And see, when it comes to the senses, if you try to satisfy one or two senses, right, via outside means, the greater the need for satisfaction we create for the other senses, right? When you try to satisfy your mouth and tongue, the eyes and the ears and the nose will start calling for satisfaction as well. For instance, when you start watching a movie, all of a sudden you are feeling like eating. You want to eat popcorn, you want to eat, take some snack, you want to take Coke. Because the stimulation of one sense will call for the stimulation of the others. Right? And it is a never ending loop of external dependence. And the only solution is to look inwards. I can't remember the last time I played music made by other people. But I'm always creating music. I'm always harvesting sound codes, sound frequencies. I'm always harvesting sounds. I have over 500 or 600 harvested sounds. And I've never entered any studio. Because I am dependent on my own faculties. I kickstarted my inner world exploration about 2 decades ago. And I've been at it. I started my self-discovery journey, my holistic discovery journey since 2004. And I've been at it. Every now and then I get to appreciate some good music that somebody composed, but it doesn't go beyond that. The next day I've forgotten about that music. Because I am not dependent on anything external. Right? That is losing energy pleasure. When it comes to switching to gaining energy pleasure, the second type of pleasure, you have to look inward. Because see, if you don't learn to start looking inward, to start exploring your you inverse, you are never going to get to the point where you are able to wield sexual energy as a weapon on cue every time. You won't. You will never learn how to turn sexual energy and the resultant orgasm inward. Everyone who has sex uses sexual energy. But the majority of people who have sex use sexual energy ignorantly. They use it ignorantly. That is why, even though a lot of people have had multiple sex with multiple people, they have had there are people who have had sex more than 1,000 times, and they are barely 40 years old. And people who have had sex and they are not even married. Yet they have never experienced sustained bliss that is powered by sexual energy. Right? Turning sexual energy and the resultant orgasm inward is tantamount to gaining energy pleasure. And this is how you are going to gain control of your senses. There is no other natural endowment that exists within the systems in your body that you can wield and deploy for gaining control of your senses. Aside sexual energy is the only instrument that you can learn to deploy for gaining control of your senses. There is no other thing that you can do. There is no other thing that you can use. You can't use prayer. You can't use reading. You can't use listening to a sermon to gain control over your senses. The only thing you can use to gain control over your senses is sexual energy. And the only way you're going to use it to gain control over your senses is when you learn to cultivate it. When you learn to cultivate sexual energy inward. See, a lot of people get, more especially even my family members, they wonder that what kind of creature is this one? They don't know the sexual energy experience I have. They don't. There's no way I can explain it to them. See, once you begin to learn how to cultivate sexual energy, it is game over for you being a puppet of anything in the outside world. Game over. You will now become someone who does things willfully. There's no amount of advertisement, even though I'm in sales, right? I'm in business. There is no amount of advertisement you can run at me. If I'm not interested, I'm not interested. You won't even need advertisement to, you won't need to run any advertisement for me to go for what I'm interested in. See, once you have more and more sexual energy on your inside, your organs will become stronger. Because, see, like I said earlier, your emotions and your virtues are stored in your organs. And dynamic sexual energy emerges after calling for these energies from your organs. The act of sex draws these energies from these different organs to make it the most dynamic sexual energy per time. Your most dynamic sexual energy per time, which is a creative energy, which is the reason why you can leverage it for creating children. You can leverage it for fertilizing. A man can leverage it. A man and a woman can leverage the sexual energy for creating an embryo, for creating a fertilized egg. The sexual energy that is not at the level of dynamism that can lead to the fertilization of an egg would not fertilize the egg. right? If I ask you right now, give me two sentences of your personal understanding of sexual energy. What are you going to tell me? Tell me in the comment section. From the day you hit puberty and now, you should have been conscious about the exploration of sexual energy. Now, from the day you hit puberty and today, what can you tell me about your own personal understanding, your own personal experience, your own personal interfacing with the sexual energy in one or two or three sentences? Tell us in the comment section. Do you know that most people have never learned how to exercise orgasm, how to exercise control over orgasm, and how to sustain it, how to raise orgasm? You know, when you orgasm, you experience a bout of highly refined energy in your brain, right? But for most people, it is momentous. It's just in a moment. It's fleeting. It doesn't last. But are you aware that you can learn to cultivate the control of orgasm such that it can it can be sustained over a period of time? It can be sustained for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes. See, that sustenance creates a rejuvenation of your brain and other organs in your body. But it is something you have to do deliberately over a period of time. It is something you have to learn. It is a practice you must deliberately cultivate. But if you're not aware of it, see, I've been talking about sexual energy for a while, but I've met people that have heard me talk about it, and I've tried to maybe engage them to try to, put my hand in their mouth to see what they can tell me about it. And I realized that they only learned it like academic learning. They have not done anything with it. It doesn't make any sense that you have heard about sexual energy and you have not proactively begun to learn about the exercises for cultivating it proactively. There is no energy more dynamic than sexual energy in the whole world, in the whole of existence. Are you aware? There are different kinds of energy. See, if you want to become a force to be reckoned with in this world, I don't care your industry. Go and learn about energy. Because everything in the material and even immaterial existence are powered by energy. Everything. Your knowledge of energy will take you places. I promise you. Your knowledge of energy will take you places. Types of energy. There are many types. I'll just mention a few. You guys will go and Google it. Go and do your research. There is what is called principal energy. That is the energy that powered your birth, or the energy that is the foundation of your existence. Principal energy. Right? Principal energy. There is life force energy. Life force energy. This is the energy you learn to tap into at the different defining moments of your life. It is even this energy that you use to engineer the different defining moments of your life. The reason why the cycle of defining moments of most people's lives is long is because they have never learned to tap into life force energy. Another energy, which is what we have been talking about since yesterday, is sexual energy. Sexual energy is creative energy. Sexual energy draws from your principal energy, it draws from your life force energy. And sex is not primarily, like I said yesterday, is for creating another human being. That is the ultimate purpose of sexual energy. But you see, like I said yesterday, a man in their lifetime will ejaculate like 5 to 6,000 times. And after like 6,000 times, they have wasted. They are most likely going to die very soon. After having ejaculated like 6,000 times, you most likely are close to your death. Right now, they ejaculate 6,000 times. Maybe they have 5 children. So if somebody ejaculated 6,000 times in their lifetime and they have 5 children, it means that 5,995 times was wasted. That 5,995 ejaculation was wasted because they don't know any better. Most men don't know any better. When it comes to sex, the end result for most men in this world is ejaculation because they don't know any better. Nobody taught them. Nobody taught them about retention. Nobody taught them about the first principle of sexual energy cultivation, the second principle of sexual energy cultivation, the third principle. Nobody taught them. Some men in their 40s heard about this for the first time from me in their 40s. Some in their 30s heard about it for the first time from me, which is absolutely preposterous, which is a slap on the face on their family elders because it is supposed to be their primary job. The primary job of the men in the family to introduce the sons of that family to sexual energy, but they don't know anything about it. Sexual energy. There is also another energy. There are other energies, but these are the four I'm talking about. Spiritual energy. Your job is to go and learn about these four energy. At least these four. There are others. Go and learn about others too. But these four, go and learn about them. Go and learn about how to master them, how to wield them as proactive weapons in your journey of life, in your career, in your business, in the relationships that you are forging, that you are building. When it comes to market penetration, these four important energies are to be given attention to. Now, when it comes to orgasm, there is a concept that I learned about a few years ago called beyond orgasm. Right? For most people that engage in sex, they have the normal outward pouring orgasm. The orgasm to pour it out, both male and female. But I'm talking about female now. When the orgasm, that energy, that refined energy, orgasm is a highly refined energy. That's orgasm. That refined energy rather, leaks out of their V. It leaks out of them. But you see, the best use of orgasm is to push it upwards to higher centers of your body. Most women don't even orgasm, right? And for those who orgasm, it leaks out of them, it leaks out of their bees because they have not learned how to exercise control over their orgasm and send it upwards. The orgasm of a woman is powerful. It can heal, it can transform, it can rejuvenate. Right? We release this life force energy outwardly all the time when we experience sexual pleasure. Whereas orgasms is meant to be, you need to learn how to push it upward. Orgasm happens because of the fusion of all the energy contributed by the organs, by the glands, mixed with sexual energy. That organismic energy is produced by this fusion. Now you produce one of the finest energies, one of the most refined energies. You just allow it to leak out, just waste it. Somebody is asking, how can I push it up? My sister, it is something that it's not something I can explain. It is an exercise that will have to, no, not an exercise, a couple of exercises that will have to introduce you to. Now, one of the ways to reward your body is through the practice of what is called life force. Everybody should write it down. Type life force in the comment section. Life force meditation, also known as beat meditation. Type life force meditation in the comment section and also type microscopic orbit meditation. Microscopic, everybody knows how to spell that. Orbit means it's spelled ORBIT. Microscopic orbit meditation. That is one principal way of cultivating the release of orgasm upward. Right? This is how you begin to learn how to recycle your ovaries' energies. Right? But you see, in the beginning, it will be difficult to get this result. Most especially if it was not introduced to you as a child or in your teenage years. It will be difficult. In your 20s or in your 30s, it will be difficult. But however difficult is not impossible. Right? It will be difficult to get results in the beginning, but you must continue practicing how to retain the energy within yourself, how to retain orgasm within yourself. Right? And once you feel and gain control over your own energy, over this orgasm, right, you will experience new heights, of pleasure that is indescribable. Right? This is the type of pleasure that is energy saving pleasure that is called beyond orgasm. Because people just orgasm and then it ends there. It must go beyond it. Right? Now, let's quickly look at the mathematics of women's sexual energy. The mathematics of women's sexual energy. I did the mathematics of men's sexual energy yesterday. Women's sexual energy, SE. Right? Now, if a woman starts having a period at age 12 and continues through menopause in her 50s, right? Puberty, 12 years old, right? Menopause, maybe 50 years old. That is 38 years. Let's say 52 years old. to make it 40 years. So a woman would experience a period for 40 years. A woman will maintain a period for 40 years. Right? Now, the total menstrual period is between 300 to 500. A woman will experience a total period of between 300 and 500 in a lifetime. Right? Now, every month, the ovum produces, and this egg contains highly perfected energy. Right? Monthly cycle is actually to every 28 days. Right? An egg. The egg is a highly perfected energy. Right? A great deal of energy is perfected in the egg of a woman. A great deal of energy goes into creating the necessary hormones as well. Right? Which provides, the what's it called? The uterine lining. Right? In the womb. It provides that. It provides hormones. It provides the uterine lining. Let me write it down. Uterine lining of the womb. Right? It is this uterine lining that provides a nest, a cozy environment for a fertilized egg. Now, if a woman is meant to produce 500 eggs in a lifetime, and she only gives birth to maybe 3 children or 4 children, or maybe 5 children, whatever, 6, it means, if let's say that a woman gives birth to 5 children, it means that 495 eggs will be wasted in the lifetime of that woman, which is what menstruation is. Right? And you see, this expenditure, this energy expenditure, this menstruation energy expenditure accounts for about 40% of the woman's daily energy allocation. For those of you on LinkedIn and YouTube, you can see what I wrote on the board, right? And most women lose this energy every single month. Right? At least 40% of their life force. Yet there's a way to transform this energy into vital energy for the organs. And not just for the organs, for the glands, for the brain, for the bone marrow, and even for the transformation into spiritual energy. See, there are certain things I will not be able to say on this life. I am willing to do a deep dive of social media, for men and for women, different. If I have 20 men, because there were certain things I did not discuss yesterday. If I have up to 20 men who are interested, I will do a deep dive on Google Meet or on Zoom. Now, also for women, there are certain things I will not be able to go into on this life, right? If I have 20 women who are interested in a deep dive, I will set it up. We'll do an off social media deep dive, right? And if I'm able to get 20 men or 20 women, we'll do it. If I don't get up to 20 men, I'm not going to do it for the men. And if I don't get up to 20 women, I'm not going to do it for the women. So if you're interested, send an email to sexuality@seunambassadorglobal.com. Somebody should type it in the comment section. Sexuality@seunambassador.com. A lot of what the sexual energy is structured and designed for can help you to rejuvenate your youthfulness. Right? When you understand the power of sexual energy, it is game over for mediocrity. Sexuality is part of the raw material of Black excellence, of African excellence. See, understand that all energies have very different properties. Negative energy, different property. Positive energy, different property. Principal energy, different property. Sexual energy, different property. Life force energy, different property. Spiritual energy, different property. Your job is to learn to identify the different properties of the different energies. That is how you are truly going to become an alchemist. There is no alchemy without energy mastery. It is only when you have learned how to identify and master the different properties of the different energies that are important to your incarnate existence that you will be able to start deploying them on cue. Right? That's the only way you're going to be able to start, cultivating them and deploying them as you please. As you please. And these different energies, you have to learn to transmutate them. Sexual energy, like I said, draws energy, it draws your different energies. It draws from your principal energy. It draws from your life force energy. And you should also learn how to use sexual energy as an ingredient for transmutating it to spiritual energy, because sexual energy is different from spiritual energy. But the primary instrument, the primary ingredient of spiritual energy is sexual energy. It is not Bible, it's not Quran. That's why you see that they demonized sexuality in the Bible and the Quran. Because it is the principal instrument for spirituality. Right? Understand that orgasm is nothing but of energy frequency, which is actually the realm where all the good and great things of this life reside. If you want to make a lot of money, you must learn to navigate and explore high energy frequencies realms. If you don't learn these things, simply because your religion doesn't teach you, simply because you never learned it in school, you're like, oh, if I didn't learn it in school and my Bible does not teach me, then it's not important. No problem. It's not my life. It's your life. Right? It is not my life. It is your life. My life is my life, and I'm deploying these different energies in different ways, both in my businesses, in my relationships, in the way I penetrate markets, in the way I cultivate relationships, in the way I do business, in the way I make money, these energies are, they come in, very, very handy, very handy. See, now let me quickly talk about emotion, negative emotions, what we typically refer to as garbage energy. Now, most women, you know, women and men alike, right, regard negative emotions as garbage energy, and justifiably so, right? They refer to it as garbage energy that needs to be um, disposed of, right? We talk about energy vampires, right? When we talk about energy vampires, we're talking about carriers of perpetual negative energy. That's a different conversation. But there are times that you can't explain why you're feeling in a way that you don't like, but you just want to quickly get out of that state. No, you are meant to stay with that energy and alchemize that energy into positive energy. Most people have never learned how to do that. See, whenever maybe my energy field contacts a negative energy, I know. Whenever it is engineered inside of me, I know. Whenever it is engineered in one of my organs, I know. So when it is inside, I'm not trying to get out of it. I want to process it. That is alchemy. Learning to turn negative energy to positive energy is alchemy. Now, I'm not talking about somebody wanting to dump negative energy on you, or maybe somebody who doesn't like you, or somebody who have declared themselves your enemy, that you want to use their energy. No, you don't use such energy. You don't use such negative energy, right? It is important to note that your emotions have your unique energetic signature imprinted upon it. Most people who are energy vampires, for instance, they dump their emotions on other people. But you see, you can't escape your negative energy. Even if you have dumped it on other people, it will eventually come back to you. See, energy is cycling. Energy experience is cycling. Energy field is cycling. It's a curve. It has a curvature. When you dump energy, negative energy on other people, it will still come back to you. But guess what? It will come back to you with increased force because it will have collected other negative energies. So don't try to escape your negative energy. Process it. This is part of how you become an alchemist for real. When you learn not just to use positive energy, but to also process negative energy. Right? Energy can neither be destroyed. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. Learning to transform energy is the true definition of an alchemist. Right? Learning to transform even negative energy into life force is a true definition of an alchemist. Right? Now, one of the ways to transform negative energy to life force is done through learning how to open certain channels in your body, certain meridians of your body. And I'm talking to women now. One of the exercises or one of the techniques for opening these channels is called ovarian breathing. Type ovarian breathing in the comment section. Today's, session is for women, right? Type ovarian breathing in the comment section. And there's no way I can teach you that on this live. But type it, write it down, and go and watch some YouTube videos of it. Ovarian breathing. And once you have been able to open these channels, you can begin to circulate, you can begin to create a communication between the negative energy and sexual energy in order for you to be able to alchemize that energy, to now take it away from being negative energy to a life to life force, you've alchemized it. But most people have been trained to want to run away from their energy, from their negative emotions. That's the training. That's the default training. If you were not trained on how to alchemize negative emotions, it simply means that you have been trained to run away from it, and you cannot run away from negative energy that stems out of the organs in your body. You can't run away from it, right? So understanding. Now, let me quickly give you a mini a mini course on menstruation. I'm sure if we end this life here, I'm sure you have learned, you've learned a few things, right? Now, to understand, let me talk about why menstruation stops during pregnancy. To understand why you can't have periods or why you are not menstruating whilst you are pregnant, whilst a woman is pregnant, it will help you to if you can hear me on YouTube or LinkedIn, please let me know. If you can hear me on YouTube or LinkedIn, let me know. Let me know in the comment section. Right? It is pretty important to understand the concept of menstruation. Right? Now, the first thing to look at is the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle. Each month, the lining of the uterus, known as endometrium, thickens with blood and tissue. And the purpose of that is to begin to prepare for a possible pregnancy. Right? This is to create a cozy, nutrient-rich place for a fertilized egg to be implanted and grow. Right? That is menstrual cycle. Now, the reason why menstruation happens is because pregnancy did not happen. If pregnancy doesn't occur within a particular time frame, the body begins to shed this built-up lining in the womb. And that shedding, together with the death of the egg, is what results into menstrual period. The shedding of that lining, right, is what results to menstrual period. Now, if pregnancy occurs, if an egg is fertilized and implanted in the uterus, the body immediately gets the signal to stop shedding the lining, right? And then the development of the embryo begins. And of course, later on, the development of the placenta also begins, right? Now, the development of the embryo produces a hormone that is called human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, small h, capital CG, right? And it is this hormone that tells the ovaries to stop releasing eggs and critically tells the body to maintain the uterus lining in order for it to support pregnancy. So, the very definition of the period is the shedding of the uterine lining due to the lack of a pregnancy. Therefore, it is impossible to have a true period. It is impossible. That's the reason why it is impossible for you to have period while the woman is pregnant. Now, it is possible for you to be pregnant and you still experience some kind of bleeding. Some kind of bleeding. It is not period. When a woman is pregnant and she experiences some kind of bleeding in a, through a V, it is not period. Now, that a woman would not have period while she's pregnant, she may experience some vaginal bleeding, right? And this is actually relatively common amongst pregnant women or among some pregnant women, right? And women in their first trimester have the tendency to have some kind of vaginal bleeding. But you see, most ladies who have not been educated about how menstruation happens get scared. Sometimes they think that, oh, is it that they are having a miscarriage? And it's not miscarriage, right? It is important to understand that it is not menstrual period when this is happening. And this kind of bleeding is usually lighter than the typical menstruation period blood, because the period blood is usually thicker, right? It is usually lighter and it is usually shorter, and it doesn't have the kind of color that a period a menstrual period color has, right? Now, some of the common causes of bleeding in early pregnancy includes what? Implantation bleeding. Implantation bleeding. When fertilization has happened and the egg is now implanting itself to the wall of the uterus, right? This is usually one of the earliest signs of pregnancy for some women. About 10 to 14 days after conception, the fertilized egg burrows itself into the uterine wall, into the uterine lining, right? And in the process of this, it can cause some very light spotting, like puncturing, like a light puncturing, right? And this puncturing can cause some kind of liquid release that some might think that it is menstrual blood, or think that no, not menstrual blood. Think that it is what's that thing called? When you losing your pregnancy, what's it called? Miscarriage. But it's not miscarriage. It's just the fertilized egg implanting itself into the uterine lining of the womb, right? And usually the color of this kind of discharge is pink or brown, and it usually doesn't last, right? So that's that happens when implantation is happening. Another cause could be changes in the cervix. right? When the cervix becomes more sensitive, it can have increased blood flow during pregnancy, right? And of course, sexual intercourse can sometimes irritate it, causing it to lightly sprout some kind of discharge that has a color similar to, menstrual period, but it's not the menstrual period color, right? That can cause it, right? Also, what is called ectopic pregnancy can cause it. And is actually a very serious medical condition, right? Where a fertilized egg implants outside of the uterus, right? Usually in the fallopian tube, but outside of the uterus, right? These can cause bleeding, right? So I'm giving you, different causes of bleeding when pregnancy has already occurred. And of course, miscarriage, can also cause bleeding, right? So it is important to understand this phenomenon or these occurrences. Now, the reason I'm sharing this is because I said that a high fraction of the eggs produced by women, more than 90% of the eggs produced by women, is wasted. But you can learn to begin to engage in exercises that helps you to cultivate the sexual energy and the life force energy that produces those eggs. Now, understand that the ovaries contains life force energy, right? The principal energy of a woman provides her with life force energy. And this life force energy is usually contained to a large extent in the ovaries. It is in the ovaries that the hormones are produced. It is these hormones that determines the structure of a woman's breast, for instance. It is this production of hormones that determines the voice texture and pitch of a woman, etc. And the ovaries are constantly producing sexual energy. Of course, that's a no-brainer. I mean, the ovaries should produce sexual energy, right? It's a no-brainer. Now, the ovarian breathing process is what you use to release the energy produced by the ovaries and make it possible to store this energy in other organs of your body. Now, when you are releasing the energy produced by the ovaries, that release is actually in masculine form. That energy is masculine energy. It is not feminine energy, it's masculine energy. When you engage in exercises that helps you harness the energy of the ovaries in order for you to be able to send them to other parts, other organs of your body, that energy is masculine. Right? Because see, after ovulation and before menstruation, the energy is usually mild. It's usually milder. Right? But you see, before all of this happens, you can begin to learn how to tap into the energy of your ovaries and get to the point where you are able to leverage the energy for other uses, for creative use, for instance, for healing other organs in your body, for instance. These are some of the uses of the energy you are able to harness from your ovaries, right? Also, during the cycle, from ovulation to menstruation, the energies in your ovaries are in its highest stage of development. So this stage, sorry, before, whilst ovulation is happening, before menstruation, right? Because menstruation happens after the eggs have been created, right? From ovulation to before egg creation, your that energy, the energies in your ovaries are in its highest developmental stage. And you are able to harness the life force easily, the life force energy easily at this stage. Once it creates the egg, it's too late. Wait for the next cycle. Because if you're not planning to be pregnant, why are you just allowing the energies in your ovaries to just create the eggs and then you waste it? Ovarian breathing is actually supposed to be practiced daily by ladies. And as you start practicing it, you'll start learning the absorption process. You'll start learning the absorption process and also the conservation process of that life force that you can extract from your ovaries. Right? Otherwise, you are going to always lose it to menstruation. This is the process by which the sexual energy is transformed into life force for use or for uses other than egg creation that would lead to menstruation if you are not planning to get pregnant. Right? This is the process by which the sexual energy is transformed into life force. And as a result of this constant practice of ovarian breathing, women often begin to notice a distinct reduction in the duration of their menstrual flow. They also begin to notice a distinct reduction in cramps and other problems associated with their period. It is possible for you not to have cramps anytime you are experiencing your menstruation. Right? It is possible. Also, if you permanently commit to this exercise where you engage in the daily practice of ovarian breathing, right? Menstruation may cease entirely because all the sexual energy is now being transformed into higher life force energy. Now, this is not something you achieve overnight. It's not something you achieve in 1 month or even in 1 year. It takes practice. It takes consistent practice. Now, under ordinary circumstances, it is possible for menstruation to stop for a variety of reasons, right? Such as very poor, food culture, very poor food habits, very poor diets, extreme emotional stress, to stop due to childbirth, it could stop due to pregnancy, right? And it could also stop due to menopause. Now, a nursing mother, for example, will not experience menstruation because the blood that is normally involved in menstruation cycle will now be drawn to the breast and converted to milk. And yes, milk is converted from blood. A lot of people don't know that. Are you aware that scientists now harvest menstrual blood, and it has been said that it has crazy level of stem cells. Of course, it's a full human being. It's a potential human being. Why would you not have stem cells? But a lot of women are not leveraging their own natural endowments, right? Menstruation only resumes in nursing mothers when nursing stops. That is when menstruation will resume. When they stop nursing their child, when they stop breastfeeding their child. Also, if you notice in women athletes, you know, when they are exposed to strict training regimens, they may all, their menstruation may also cease. I know some, women athletes who, because of the strict um, exercise regimens that they are exposed to, they realize that they don't have frequent monthly menstrual periods. It ceases, it stops. Because the energies that is supposed to create that egg has been hijacked and is being used for power their athleticism, right? Also, similarly, it should be noted that many women after menopause lead very active and healthy lives, right? Women after menopause can pursue highly successful careers. But you see, if you have not been proactively cultivating your sexual energy in your teenage years, in your 20s, in your 30s, it most likely will be very, very difficult for you to spring out in your menopause and start a career and achieve success in it. It most likely will be difficult or maybe even impossible. Right? Understand that your ovaries as a woman, the energies of your ovaries is part of the principal recipe for the cultivation of higher consciousness. Ovary energy is the energy used by women for developing higher consciousness. But you must learn the practices. Now, there's a practice that transforms sexual energy into life force. Apart from ovarian breathing, there is the practice of internal organ alchemy, where you are proactive about paying attention to the organs located in different aspects, different areas of your body, where you are literally listening to your heart, listening to your lungs, listening to your spleen, listening to your liver, your kidney. You learn to. This is something that I cannot explain orally. I can't explain it orally, right? Yeah, there are exercises we have to do. It's called the inner organ alchemy, where you into the energies and you are able to send them to one organ to another. It's some level technique, but it is also doable. It is something that you can proactively learn and then practice to the point where you become an expert at it. It is a process where you begin to cleanse your internal organs with your alchemizing these different energies. You strengthen your internal organs, right? I call these organs your occult organs. You use it for your brain as well. The different organs in your body, right? Now, finally, understand that the energies from your ovaries is the best cosmetic that you can wear. It is the most powerful cosmetic you can wear. The energies from your ovaries. Because the ovaries contribute most of their energies during sexual arousal. And that's one of the reasons why men are advised not to want to just rush sex. That's why they advise foreplay. Because arousal is one of the fundamental routes for ladies to access the energies of their ovaries. Is one of the ways, right? And of course, many other organs are contributors to these arousals as well, right? The liver, the spleen, like I mentioned earlier, the kidney, the heart, the lungs, the brain, as well as the glands, right? The pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the thymus gland, the thyroid gland, the adrenal gland, all of them contribute to this arousal. And like I said, arousal is a refined sexual energy. A fraction of your sexual energy was refined. It got refined and it came up. It came up to your higher centers, to your heart, to your brain. That's why you're feeling love in your heart. You're feeling this highness in your brain because of that arousal. But most people do not sustain that arousal. Most ladies do not sustain that arousal. So it is the onus is on you to proactively sustain it, right? To learn how to proactively sustain it, right? The properties of sexual energy, like I said earlier, during arousal, is usually masculine in nature. It is this masculine energy that you leverage for revitalizing your nervous system. When I meet ladies who are not intellectually intelligent, mentally intelligent, I know that they have not been tapping into arousal. I know that they have not been proactively deploying that masculine energy of arousal. I know it. Because it's one of the ways you revitalize your nervous system. And you know that your nervous system consists of your spinal cord, your brain, and the glands. Arousal helps to revitalize it. And the more revitalized your nervous system is, the more increased your brain power gets, the more sharpened your memory becomes, and the more youthful you become, right? And this is why we say that it is the best cosmetic for women, right? So this is where I will take questions. If you have questions, now is the time for you to ask. If you want to come up, you can also come up. You can send a request and I'll bring you up. This is the final part of this uh, series, 2-day series, 2-session series. I trust that you've been able to learn a few things. If you have any question, now is the time for you to ask it. If you want to send a request, you can send a request, I'll bring you up. Normally, Sundays are Sunday business lessons where I share business insights, marketing insights, sales insights, how to take your business to the next level, how to generate more revenue, generate more sales and things of that nature, hiring, team building, it could be anything that we'll discuss on each, particular episode, right? But because it is, Valentine's season, we decided to have this 2 day series, right? And I trust that you've been able to learn a few things from it. But if you have any question, now it's time for you to ask. A quick one. Let me make some announcement. Um, one of the real estate companies that I am a partner of, it's called Alpha Mac, Business Investment Limited. They started a 48 hour 50% discount on their estates in Ibejuleki and Ekpe, and it's going to be ending by midnight today. With just 5 million naira, you can acquire a property for yourself in Ibejuleki. With just 10 million naira, you can acquire a property for yourself, a landed property for yourself in Ibejuleki. If you are interested in it, send a DM, and we'll schedule a call to have with you. Also, if you are looking to acquire major properties in major cities in Nigeria and internationally, kindly visit propertyhunter.city. If you need properties in Nigeria, properties in other countries in West Africa, in South Africa, in Uganda, in Rwanda, need properties in the UK, in London, Edinburgh, in Manchester, you need properties in the US, New York, Houston, uh, these need properties in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, visa.city, and fill that short form. Team will to you between 24 and 48 hours, right? I don't think there's anybody have any question. Since there's no question, this is where I'm going to be handing it. I trust that you've been able to learn one or two things from this. I'll be back with the Sunday business lessons. If you're a business person and you are struggling in your business, or your business has hit a ceiling and you need the expertise of someone like me, you reach out. Send us an email, office@seunambassadorglobal.com, and we can look into your business and see how we can help you take your business to the next level, right? I have two books. For those of you who don't know, this book is a book for folks who want to kickstart their holistic discovery journey. It's called Personal Discovery Secrets. The hard copy is 24,000 naira. The soft copy is 15,000 naira. And I also have this book, Holistic Entrepreneurship. For those of you who want to take your entrepreneurship journey to the next level, or for those of you who want to kickstart your entrepreneurship journey, this book would open your eyes to the realities of entrepreneurship in a multidimensional way, and you'll be able to gain grounds, right? The hard copy is 26,000 naira. The soft copy is 17,000 naira. If you want to partner with me, if you want me to become your partner, you want me to become a member, a member of your board in your company, reach out, office@seunambassadorglobal.com, and we'll look into how we can partner. Right? Thank you, everybody who joined. I appreciate you. Next Sunday is another time for me to come live. For those of you joining from Africa and Europe, have a beautiful night rest as you go to bed tonight. And for those of you joining from North America and Australia, enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys the next time I come live. Take care and see you later.